You're at a party, and on the surface, everything seems fine. The music is playing, people are laughing, but you feel it first. It's a subtle shift in the host's posture as they walk away from a conversation. You notice their smile doesn't quite reach their eyes for the rest of the night. You see the tiny, almost invisible crack in the cheerful facade. You mention it quietly to a friend who just gives you a puzzled look and says everything seems great. Later, you find out the host received some bad news just an hour into the party, and you're left with that familiar feeling. The feeling of seeing a layer of reality that is invisible to almost everyone else. Does this sound familiar? Do you ever feel like your brain operates with a high-powered searchlight, illuminating every detail, while everyone else seems to be using a simple flashlight? You're not just imagining it, and you're certainly not alone in this experience. This heightened perception isn't a social awkwardness or a tendency to overanalyze things. It is a distinct and powerful psychological profile that sets you apart. Many people might misunderstand this trait, labeling it as being too sensitive or reading too much into things. But the truth is far more profound and empowering. It's not a curse to see so much. In fact, it's a specific set of cognitive abilities working in perfect harmony. By the end of this video, you will finally understand the psychological architecture behind your perceptive mind. More importantly, you'll learn exactly how to harness it, turning what can sometimes feel like a burden into your most valuable asset. Stay with me, because we are about to decode your unique way of seeing the world. If you're here, you've probably been told you're an overthinker at least once in your life. You might feel mentally exhausted after social gatherings, not from the interaction itself, but from processing thousands of tiny data points. You carry the strange burden of seeing a problem long before anyone else even senses that something is wrong. This can feel isolating, as if you're speaking a language that no one else understands. But what if this isn't a flaw in your programming? What if it's the very feature that makes you exceptional? We're going to reframe this entire experience for you today. Your ability to notice everything isn't a single vague trait. It's a combination of 4 distinct and powerful cognitive abilities working together. Think of them as the 4 pillars supporting your hyper-perceptive mind. First, there's high sensory sensitivity, the raw data input from the world around you. Second is advanced pattern recognition, your brain's incredible ability to connect the dots. Third, we have deep emotional acuity, your capacity to understand the unspoken feelings of others. And finally, there's systems thinking, the gift of seeing the entire complex picture. In this video, we will break down each of these 4 pillars one by one. We'll use simple analogies and clear examples so you can finally put a name to your experiences. And once we understand the what, we'll get to the how, with a simple set of tools to turn this from a burden into a superpower. You'll leave this video not just feeling understood, but feeling truly empowered. So let's start with the foundation. The very first pillar that defines your experience of the world. The first pillar is high sensory sensitivity. In simple terms, your brain's filtering system is naturally set to a lower, more permissive level than most people's. Imagine the average person's brain has a spam filter that automatically discards 90% of incoming sensory information as irrelevant. Your brain's filter, however, might only discard 50%. This means you are consciously and subconsciously processing a vastly larger volume of data from your 5 senses. This isn't about having better eyesight or hearing. It's about what your brain chooses to do with the signals it receives. The best analogy is that you're operating with a high-resolution camera in a world that is mostly filmed in standard definition. You capture more pixels, more data in every single frame of reality. This is why you're the first to notice the faint scent of rain before a storm. It's why you can be bothered by the almost imperceptible hum of a refrigerator that no one else can even hear. Consider a walk through a busy supermarket. For most people, it's just a background blur of noise and color. But for you, it's a sensory symphony, or often a cacophony. You're processing the squeak of a specific shopping cart wheel 3 aisles over. You're registering the subtle flicker in the fluorescent lighting above the dairy section. You're unconsciously cataloging the different tones of checkout beeps and the overlapping chatter from a dozen different conversations. Each of these details is a piece of data that your brain logs and processes. This explains the implication that so many highly perceptive people face: sensory overwhelm. Loud concerts, chaotic parties, or bustling city streets can feel incredibly draining. It's not that you're antisocial, it's that your brain is doing 10 times the work to process the environment compared to the person next to you. This constant influx of information is the raw material, the foundation upon which all other pillars are built. Without this rich data stream, the other abilities wouldn't have nearly as much to work with. But this sensitivity is just the first step in the process. Noticing the details is one thing. It's what your brain does with those details that's truly special. This brings us to Pillar 2. Advanced pattern recognition. If sensory sensitivity is about collecting the dots, pattern recognition is about connecting them at lightning speed. Your mind isn't just a passive container for information. It's a dynamic, predictive machine. It is constantly and subconsciously running if-then scenarios, cross-referencing present observations with a vast internal library of past experiences, conversations, and feelings. This allows you to spot trends, predict outcomes, and understand causal links that are completely invisible to others. The perfect analogy for this is that while others are just seeing the individual chess pieces on the board, you see the entire board, the opponent's likely strategies, and the probable outcomes 5 moves ahead. You aren't just looking at what is. Your brain is constantly calculating what will be. Let's imagine a professional scenario. You're in a project meeting, and the team lead announces a slight delay, but assures everyone it's no big deal. Others nod and move on. But you feel a sense of dread. You're connecting that announcement to the change in the department head's tone during a meeting last week. You're linking it to a budget spreadsheet you saw 2 months ago that showed funding being reallocated. And you remember a key engineer mentioning their frustration in a casual coffee chat. For others, these are separate, unrelated events. For you, they are nodes in a network, and they all flash a single, blinking warning sign. This project is in serious trouble. This is the root of that powerful intuition, the moments where you just know something without being able to articulate the step-by-step logic immediately. It's not magic, it's high-speed data processing. Your subconscious has already run the analysis and simply delivered the conclusion to your conscious mind. And if this sounds like you, just take a second and acknowledge how powerful that is. You're not just guessing. You're computing. While others are hearing the words, you're reading the code behind them. This ability to see the invisible threads connecting everything is a genuine cognitive advantage. And by the way, if this framework is already helping you connect the dots about your own mind, consider clicking that subscribe button. We release new videos every week designed to give you the psychological tools to better understand yourself and the world around you. It's a simple click that helps our community grow. Collecting physical data and recognizing patterns is one thing, but where this ability becomes profoundly human is in our third pillar, deep emotional acuity. This is your capacity to perceive and process the subtle, often hidden emotional data in social interactions.
You're not just listening to the words people say. You are processing their vocal tonality, their posture, the speed of their speech, their breathing patterns, and the micro-expressions that flash across their face in a fraction of a second.
It's like you can perceive the emotional subtitles running beneath every single conversation. You're reading the meta-communication that most people's brains filter out as noise. Think of it like this. If a conversation is a song, most people hear the lyrics, but you hear the lyrics, the bass line, the harmony, and the subtle dissonance between the instruments. Let's use a concrete example. You ask your friend how they are, and they reply with a bright, cheerful, "I'm doing great." Anyone else would accept that at face value. But you saw something else. You noticed a 1/10 of a second hesitation before they answered. You detected that their smile didn't engage the muscles around their eyes. You subconsciously registered a slight pulling back of their shoulders, a defensive posture that contradicts their happy words. Your brain takes these 3 micro data points, runs them through its pattern recognition engine, and concludes with certainty they are not doing great. This is the profound implication of emotional acuity. It's why you form such deep connections with authentic people, and why you feel so drained and exhausted around those who are inauthentic or performing a role. Their words are saying one thing, but their emotional data is screaming another, and your brain is forced to process both conflicting realities at once. This ability to feel the truth behind the words is an incredible gift for empathy and connection, but it also requires you to be discerning about who you spend your energy on. This brings us to the final capstone pillar, systems thinking. After your brain has gathered high-resolution sensory data, identified the hidden patterns, and read the emotional undercurrents, it does something remarkable. It starts to build a living, breathing mental model of how all the pieces fit together. You don't just see individual people or events, you see the systems they operate within. This could be the unspoken power dynamics in a family, the intricate political web of an office, or the chain reaction of consequences that a single decision might trigger. The analogy here is that you don't just see the trees. You see the entire forest, including the underground root systems, the quality of the soil, the migratory patterns of the birds, and the way a coming weather front will impact the entire ecosystem. You instinctively grasp the interconnectedness of it all. For example, your company introduces a new time-off request policy that seems more efficient on the surface. Everyone else sees it as a simple procedural change. But your systems thinking brain immediately goes to work. You see that this policy will add an extra layer of bureaucratic approval for middle managers. This will increase their workload, causing them to deprioritize mentoring their junior staff. That lack of mentorship will lead to more mistakes in a key department, which will ultimately delay the launch of a critical project 3 months from now. You see the dominoes falling before the first one has even been touched. This is the implication of being a natural systems thinker. It makes you an incredible strategist, a visionary problem solver, and the person who can foresee challenges long before they become crises. However, it can also lead to a sense of analysis paralysis, where you're so aware of the thousand potential consequences of a simple decision that it becomes difficult to act. Understanding this final pillar is key to appreciating the sheer scale of your cognitive processing. Okay, that's the theory. We've defined the four pillars: sensory sensitivity, pattern recognition, emotional acuity, and systems thinking. Now let's get practical and talk about the so what. So, how do you stop from drowning in all this data? How do you manage this high-performance engine without it burning out? Here are 3 actionable techniques you can start using today. First is the filter technique. When you feel overwhelmed in a busy environment, consciously decide what you will focus on. Close your eyes for a moment and say to yourself, I am only going to pay attention to the voice of the person I am with. Visualize a dial in your mind and turn down the volume on all other inputs. Turn down the background music, the chatter, the visual distractions. This mental exercise trains your prefrontal cortex to exert more control over your brain's natural filtering mechanism, giving you a sense of agency. Second, use an observer's journal. Your brain wants to process every insight, but you don't have to act on every one. Keep a simple notebook or a note on your phone. When you notice a pattern or have an intuitive hit, write it down. Just a sentence or two. This act of externalizing the thought satisfies your brain's need to log the data, freeing up mental bandwidth and relieving you of the pressure to immediately analyze or act on it. Third, and most importantly, develop your insight translation skill. Instead of stating your observations as facts, which can put others on the defensive, frame them as questions or feelings. Instead of saying, this project is going to fail, try, I'm noticing a few potential challenges down the road. Can we talk through them? Instead of, you seem upset, you might try, I might be misreading this, but I'm sensing you might have something on your mind. This translates your complex perceptions into a language others can understand and engage with, turning you from a critic into a valued collaborator. So let's bring it all together. Your experience of the world is shaped by these 4 incredible pillars. High sensory sensitivity gives you the raw data. Advanced pattern recognition finds the connections. Deep emotional acuity reads the human element. And systems thinking builds the entire map. So yes, you see what others don't. Remember that feeling at the party of being the only one who saw the truth? It wasn't because you were being negative or overthinking. It's because your mind is a high-performance engine built for deep and comprehensive understanding of the world. It's a feature, not a bug. For years, you may have been told that your depth is a problem. You've been made to feel that your sensitivity is a weakness. Today, that narrative changes. Your perception is not a flaw to be managed. It is your greatest tool, your most powerful asset. This isn't overthinking. It's full-spectrum thinking. The world desperately needs people who see the whole picture, who feel the subtle shifts, and who can connect the dots that no one else sees. The only question left is, what will you do with it? Stop apologizing for your depth. Start using it. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. I hope this framework gives you a new sense of validation and power. If this video resonated with you and gave you a moment of clarity, please subscribe for more content that helps you understand the psychology of you. Your support helps us create more videos just like this one. And if you want to dive deeper into that third pillar, emotional acuity, be sure to watch our video on the 5 signs you're an empath and not just sensitive. You can click it on the screen right now. Thanks again for watching.